Good evening, everybody. Live from Glenview Ice Center, it's the first ever Illinois State Hockey Championships High School Bracket Reveal Show. We are so excited to bring this to you, and everything that for the red, the combined, the girls bracket is going to be revealed right here on the show. This is Luke Jordan. We've got Dylan Ward to my right. I'm Sam Schwartz. This is going to be a fun hour, guys.
Yeah, it really is going to be. And, you know, just the idea, Sam, you were the one who pioneered this, to have this show, to have everyone at home tune in and find out live instead of just, you know, checking the website when someone says, hey, did you see it gets posted? I mean, to have everyone right here finding out at the exact same time, parents, coaches, and fans alike, it's going to be a great night.
And without further ado, we apologize for the technical difficulties, so we're going to get right into our first bracket. It's not a large one, but it's got a lot of skill. It's the high school girls bracket. So this is going to be how our night goes. We're going to have a bracket on our top left, as you see right there, and we're just going to paint the teams down one by one. And without further ado, the first team, it's going to be part of a rivalry, not to tease. It's the Loyola Ramblers girls.
Yeah, and you know, they might have a struggling record in the division they play in. They currently play in the Scholastic division, but for those of you that don't follow too much girls hockey, there are two divisions. There's the Scholastic, which is higher, and Founders, which is lower. So they might be one of the lower teams in the Scholastic, but they're still a tough team to compete with for whoever has them next.
And, well, I said rivalry. I don't think this one's too hard to guess. They are up against the number one seed. Number one seeds in hockey, it's the New Trier Trevians.
Yeah, and they're not only number one in the state, number one in the highest division, the MGAHL, a 10-1-3 record, and they actually just recently played Loyola and handed them a loss with a 4-2 win for the Trevians.
Lots of parity here in the girls division. Our next matchup's going to begin with the Chicago Central Romans.
Yeah, and you know, Sam, they are one of the higher teams in the Founders division. They are the highest Founders seed other than one that will be coming later in this one, but they are second with an 8-5 record, and somebody you want to watch out for if you're playing defense on the other side is Carla McSweeney, who's got 23 goals in 12 games. That leads the entire league between the two divisions.
And the interesting thing is there's a lot of parity. It's not straight Scholastic teams going down into Founders teams. Of course, that's with Barrington, who we're going to find out where they get later on. But they ended up in the Founders, which again is the lower division. So anyway, the matchup for the Chicago Centrals, they're going to fight up against the Fenwick Friars. Lots of Fs.
A lot of individual talent on the Friars. I got to see them play on Saturday in the high school rivalry series against the Burlington West Grizzlies. And what stuck out to me is watching Ella Scotty play. She's got incredible speed. She's got a good shot. And that was to even note that Caitlin Dill wasn't there. So those two, they're going to be a 1-2 offensive punch for the Friars in this tournament.
All right, we move on to the other side of the bracket real quickly here. And with the 6-3 matchup, the visiting team of the play-in game is going to be Maine Township.
Yeah, Maine, a combined girls team. Abigail Schrantz leads Maine in scoring with 20 points on the Metro girls season. And, you know, they were the 6th seed last year. They're the 6th seed again with a final league record of 4-8-2.
And on to there, we're right here at Glenview Ice Center, home of Glenbrook Girls Hockey. They are the 3 seed.
Yeah, so this is actually going to be a rematch of the quarterfinal last year. Not only the same two teams, but the same seeds, Glenbrook 3 and Maine number 6. Cassidy Cha leads Glenbrook in scoring with 23 points. Last year when they met in the quarterfinal, Glenbrook won 4-1. Amanda Rosen had a hat trick in that game, and Glenbrook ended up going all the way to the United Center where they lost to Barrington.
Glenbrook looking for another trip to the United Center and a better result. And our final matchup, the 7 seed coming from the Founders division, it's the Grizzlies.
Yeah, the Grizzlies led by scorer Chloe Arians with 21 points on the season. Like you said, Luke, with Fenwick, we saw them in the high school hockey rivalry series down at Paul Ruby Ice Arena. 6-7-1 record on the regular season, so we'll see who they match up against here.
And, well, everyone was wondering about it. Last year's state champions, and they've got the 2 Gorbatenko sisters. It's the Barrington Phillies. They are the 2 seed looking for another state championship.
Yeah, Sam, you teed me up there great with that Gorbatenko note. How about Nicole Gorbatenko leading the Metro Girls Hockey League with 45 points in 10 games played? I repeat, 45 points in 10 games played. Her sister Rachel Gorbatenko is second with 32. And like you said, Sam, Barrington defending state champions at the girls division. They had a rough start to the season with a 2-2-1 tiering record, placed them in the Founders Division, and then they proved why they should be the number 2 seed anyway with a 13-0 league record after that.
All right, well, there's your girls bracket. And in a moment, we'll have the dates and times for the semifinals and the finals up on your screen, that's going to be at West Meadows for the first time, all leading to the United Center. Man, the Blackhawks, they do such a great job. Andrea Hahn, Andy Pape with the amateur department for the Chicago Blackhawks, they do a great job with AHAI. It was a great 3 games, and for the first ever year, we are going to 5 games, all on Sunday, March 16th, 2025. We're going to show this to you several times today, but it's because we want you there, and you're going to want to be there. It is great hockey. So that's your girls' bracket. Thoughts, guys?
Well, first off, who wouldn't want to be at the United Center? You're talking 5 back-to-back games. I know I'm going to be there for sure.
Yeah, in years past, it was only the girls combined in red divisions. The 3 divisions we're revealing to you now. Not even JV was held at the United Center, but now with the addition of combined JV, still all 5 at the UC starting at 10 a.m. Last game going to end around 10. It's going to be a great night.
It'll be a fun day at the United Center indeed. So why don't we go back here to the girls bracket full on your screen for a moment. Again, the semifinals for the first time. This is going to be at West Meadows Ice Arena. We've previously done it at the Edge Ice Arena in Bensonville, but we are moving things over to West Meadows where we've got the semifinals. The quarterfinals are going to be a play-in hosted by the higher seed, so that's New Trier, Barrington, Glenbrook, and Fenwick. And those teams have lots of time to schedule their games. Again, it's March 10th, the semifinals for girls, and then after that, 6 days for them to prepare for the final game of the United Center Championship Day. That's your girls' bracket, and it's going to be very fun, guys, to see how this turns out.
Yeah, I was on play-by-play for the girls' state championship last season that saw the Barrington Phillies defeat Glenbrook by a final score of 6-1, actually. So Barrington, maybe the favorite, not by their seed, but again, they just had that tough start and placed in the lower division. So that's probably why New Trier gets the 1 seed there in the voting. But really, I mean, it's cliche, fellas, but when playoffs start, you can really throw all the records out the window. It's just about who is ready to compete on that given day.
And anyone who's new to the high school hockey tournament here in Illinois, remember, it is all single elimination. Tier 1, Tier 2 don't necessarily do that. The formats change. You have to win every game in order to be a state champion. Which team's going to do it? Which team's going to be a champion? That applies to all of our divisions here, including the next one we're going to go through, which is boys varsity combined. And we'll have a larger bracket starting brand new. And some of these teams are going to have to play round of 32 games rather, and other teams are going to get buys into the round of 16. But regardless, everyone is going to have to play 1 or 2 games before getting to West Meadows. In this division, you have to get to the quarterfinals for West Meadows instead of the semifinals. Without further ado, fellas, let's begin. The number 1 seed in the varsity boys division, coming from the North Central Champions Division, it's the Buffalo Grove Hersey Wakanda Stampede.
Just want to correct you there. It is Buffalo Grove, Hersey, Wheeling.
Oh, my
no worries. We've all been there.
Got a lot
And
of
by the
names
way, BGHW, the 7 seed last year, they now jump up to the 1 where this 1 seed is up for grabs. I kid you not. And they have the team to go on a run for state. They have some incredible star power in Cam Christopher, who they acquired from the Northwest Chargers this season. And they have an incredible goaltending crew between Adam Krzyzanowski and Luke Finella. So it's going to be exciting to see how far they could go in this tournament.
Also, this year for BGHW, they just had their coach, Bob Wagner, inducted into the Illinois Illinois Hockey Hall of Fame. That's all levels. And personally, he's been amazing to me, but he's made such a positive impact on so many families, players, helped them turn into better players, into better people, more importantly, as these are all student athletes, you got to remember. So a big congratulations to Bob Wagner. If you see him, make sure to wish him congratulations, and we love having him around.
Yeah, and I want to say congrats to Coach Wagner as well, because as a former player in that Champions Division, it was always tough to play against the Buffalo Grove Percy Wheeling Stampede because they have a coaching crew that's been around for a while and they know all these team systems because they've been around, Coach Wagner getting involved with all these leagues. He knows where everybody's from, and he's adjusted how they all play. So he comes in with some background knowledge of how you play before you even play them.
Yeah, he was the president of various high school leagues under different names for 17 years and also coached for 23. And also, Buffalo Grove has almost a full sweep over all of the combined teams in the West and North Central, almost, and the team is slipping me right now. I apologize, but I do remember that note. Anyway, to the other side of that matchup, coming from the West Division, the 17 seed, the away team in their play-in game, is going to be Oswego.
Yeah, Oswego is playing in a very balanced West Division. They might have not had the best league record, just slightly under 500, but they still jump up from last year's seed. And what you want, you've all heard the quote, defense wins championships. They have an incredible netminder in Nate Carter. He is the best save percentage among starters in the West at a .938.
And their opponent from the North Central Division, it's Chicago Central.
And Chicago Central, the North Central has been tough this year. They just missed the playoff cut, lost in the round of 16 last year, but it's going to be exciting. They can beat Oswego and then move on to BGHW. Anybody can beat anybody when you compare that North Central Division. So we'll see how that goes if they make it there.
Absolutely. And now the 9 seed in the combined division will be getting a bye due to the number of teams. So will the 8 seed. They'll both be going straight to the round of 16. And without further ado, the 9 seed, having combined last year from the West Division, it's Naperville.
Yeah, and Sam, I really like their move to move into a combined team. You had the 2 previous red teams of Naperville Central and Naperville North. They combine to make one team, and I feel like when you combine 2 schools to play in the combined division, you have a much better shot at state. Here they are with the number 9 seed, and I like their odds. I think they're one of the more undervalued teams just because they've been just above water in the West.
Yeah, and they made it to the semifinals last year, so they're hoping to punch their ticket to the United Center. Naperville, by the way, a quick housekeeping note. On some of the bracket displays, you're going to see them as D203, and that's per the rules about how they get referred to, but that is Naperville. They are interchangeable. Their opponent is a hot team. It's the 8 seed, also from West. It is Lincoln Way.
Yeah, talk about a team that is heating up. They started the season just kind of, mediocre, and all of a sudden somebody mentioned on me and Dylan's podcast, the Scholastic Sit Down, in the comment section they go, Lincoln Way is one of the hottest teams in hockey right now. And I was like, okay, I'll fact check you on that. I go down, they finish their West regular season by winning 7 of their last 8 games. They have a very well-balanced offensive attack. We'll see what they can do in this tournament.
Yeah, that's 7 of 8's very hard to beat. And also, last year, they were the 17 seed, so they're half as better, or twice as better, I should say. And that is our top left quadrant of the combined bracket. And as we move down, we'll look at the 5, 21, 12, 20, 13, and 4 seeds in order. So, without further ado, also from the West Division, it's Maine Township.
Yeah, Maine, as the 5 seed, they finished 3rd place in West with a record of 20-6, but 3 of those 6 losses were in their last 3 regular season games. So they're hoping to step it up a notch when it comes to their league playoffs as well as this combined bracket. They have a pretty deep roster. To be the number 3rd team in the league, their leading scorer, Ryan Goff, is 18th place in the entire league. So that just goes to show you they're getting production from all over the lineup, and they've got themselves a bye in the first round.
I would not be surprised to see Ryan Goff on the All-State roster. So Maine with the bye, we move down to the 21 seed, where we will start to see some North Central teams again, including the Leiden Eagles.
Yeah, Leiden, a 7th place finish in the gold division, like you said, a record of 9-9-2 in their regular season. Matthias Balkar leads the team in points with 32. That's 4th place in the North Central Gold Division overall by all skaters.
And their opponent, going back to the West Division, this should be a good matchup. They will play against the DuPage Stars.
Yeah, DuPage, a team I actually got out to see this season on the High School Hockey Rivalry Series broadcast. A lot of really talented skaters and puck movers on that team. Samuel Rollo leads the team with 31 points. We also saw in that rivalry series game in which they beat Lions 8-5, a hat trick from Devin Casey. So they're going to be a force to be reckoned with as they have one of their most successful seasons in recent memory.
I would believe that game would be a pretty high-scoring game between Leiden's offense and DuPage's high-scoring spurts. And by the way, one more housekeeping note, again, per the rules, is DuPage will be referred to as DHS. Sorry, Deerfield. But DuPage, DHS, that is DuPage. Just need to get that out there. The next matchup, I should say, it will be a North Central Gold and North Central Gold matchup. The 20 seed is the Lake Park Lightning.
Yeah, and just hinting to this matchup, these two teams are very familiar with each other. But Lake Park playing in the combined division for the first time ever. They were previously known as the Lake Park Lancers, just playing for their lone high school, kind of making a similar move to Naperville. They join up with some teams, and now they're here with a not-so-bad seed here in the combined division.
And by the way, they are D108 and U46, D108, U46 on the brackets. We'll be seeing that for a lot of combined teams, but I digress. And their opponent, they've had a great year in the Gold Division. Some have said they should be in North Central champions. It's Phil Gabrielson and the Fox Valley Hawks.
Yeah, I was one of those people that said they should probably be in the Champions Division the way they've been playing. How about that defense? 41 goals allowed throughout the entire regular season. Hard to beat that. And this is a team last year that had the 26 seed, ended up having to match up with BGHW, who is now the number 1, but last year the number 7, and they got steamrolled. And that's how their season ended. And now you have a team with a lot of optimism rolling into this playoff. They were number 1 in the North Central Gold in the regular season. We'll see how they do. And not only their league playoffs that they could be favored to win, but as well as these state playoffs where I think they're a team that could be undervalued when it comes to seeding.
Well, the winner of that game is going to have a first-class ticket to a team that has been having the best season in their program history from Illinois West. It's the 4-seed Plainfield Predators.
It has been awesome to see what the Plainfield Predators have done this season after their past, where they haven't really been the greatest. This time around, they have an offense where 3 of the top scorers in the West are from one team in the Predators, who are averaging well over 4 goals a game. And all you need is that offense to be consistent in these playoffs, and you have a very legitimate state contender.
Yeah, 3 out of the 4 top scorers in Illinois West wear Plainfield uniforms. Very impressive. Well, with that, that is the left or top half of your bracket. It's not going to be an easy state championship. There are no gimmies here. Even Buffalo Grove, Oswego, Chicago Central, nothing is given.
Yeah, and you look at, of course, Chicago North and Warriors, nowhere to be found yet. So that means they're both going to be on that right side of the bracket, which, obviously those two teams met in the state championship last season. So we're going to have a new team advancing to the final, and it's going to be one of those on the left side of your screen.
That's a really good point, Dylan. And speak of the devil, let's get to the top. The number 3 seed in the varsity combined division is from North Central champions, Chicago North, Varsity 1.
Yeah, Chicago North, the only team in the combined division to have 2 varsity teams make the cut, but third place finish in the champions division, like you said, 16-5-3 record over there. Aiden Gray and Ian Donahue led scoring with 29 points and 28 points respectively, and they're going to be hungry after how last year ended up.
Absolutely. And they will be playing the winner of the first team in this matchup from North Central Gold, the 19-seeded AWF Renegades.
Yeah, 4th place finish in gold, record of 10-9-2. Sean Tosh and Frank DiBartolo lead the team in points with 24 and 23 respectively. And they've got themselves the number 19 seed.
Yep. And they will be going on in the play-in game to play the 14-seeded Rockford Lightning.
Yeah, so we've got an all North Central Gold matchup here as Rockford finished 3rd place in the division with a 12-4-4 record. Ethan Walters leading the team with 36 points. He's 2nd place in North Central Gold overall by all skaters. And in the season series, guys, Rockford won both games 4-1 and then 4-3. So, they know how to keep it close at least, but they also had that dominant 4-1 win, and it'll be interesting to see what happens when it's down to who goes to the United Center.
Absolutely. And as this is combined, they are District 100, 122, 205, and 207. So a bit of a mouthful in words on the bracket. but there's your heads up. Also, they were the Belvedere Fury last year. They rebranded. So if you're wondering where the Belvedere Fury are, this is them. So that's your first three teams on the right side of the bracket. And to start the next matchup, it's a club we've already mentioned, the only one with more than one varsity team in combined. It's the 22-seeded Chicago North Varsity 2.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting because compared to the red division that we're eventually going to approach, there are a ton of Varsity 2 teams. But over here, Chicago North Varsity 2 has been playing in the gold division. They haven't had the greatest of league seasons, but you know what? With a Varsity 2 team, it's always a balanced attack, and anybody can deliver on any given day.
Yep. As I was saying earlier, nothing is given. And they're going to play a team that has played seasons in both North Central Gold and Champions. It's the 11-seeded D155 Predators.
Yeah, the Predators playing last season in gold. They very much proved that they deserve to move up to Champions, and that's exactly what they did this year. And they weren't a team that was right at the bottom of the barrel from the start. They actually worked so close to a playoff appearance. The top 8 teams in the North Central move on to the quarterfinals, semifinals, championship, but D155 ends up grabbing that 9th seed, so they were just a smidge out of what could have been a road to glory.
Absolutely. And the winner of that game will go on to play a team with a bye. We've seen them make it very far in combined, especially in 2023 when they won the state championship. It's Nick Panos and Prep as the 6th seed.
Yeah, Prep, almost what you could call a dynasty in this combined division. They lost some great skaters over the last 2 years. Like, even that last 3 years, you look at Michael Stein a couple of years back. Then after that, you lose Matt Milokarnakis and so on. But still, they find a team that is able to compete with every team in this combined division, even BGHW, who they've beaten this season.
And by the way, they're playing their quarterfinal league matchup against BGHW, and they are pretty bitter rivals.
How's that for a rivalry series? Get that in the playoffs. That's going to be electric.
Exactly. So there's your top right quadrant. If you're just joining us, glad to have you. And remember that the red bracket is coming up next. All of the brackets will be put up on ahai.org/HS brackets 2025. That's where the official brackets will be found in real time, and that will be up and posted shortly after the conclusion of this broadcast. Without further ado, to the bottom right quadrant, where it will start with a West team that is as hot as Lincoln Way. It's 7-seeded Glenbard.
Yeah, exactly, Sam, who have also won 7 of their last 8 to close out the regular season. Them and Lincoln Way are very similar, very balanced attacks, guys who can deliver on any given night. So if those two teams end up meeting, which the odds are, of course, slim, it would be it's like one team just playing in a mirror. I mean, it is going to be good if those two teams meet. But Glenbard in general this season, a 7 seed, and look at their overall record. They were really impressive, 27-17-0, and they still made it to the semifinals last year where they lost to the eventual runner-ups in Chicago North.
And by the way, that's Glenbard with a bye to the round of 16, as well as the next team we're about to mention, who will meet Glenbard in the round of 16. From North Central Champions, they've played seasons in Champions and Gold. It's the Lake Zurich Mundelein Wakanda Yeti.
Yeah, what a jump they've made. Their 2024 seed being 16. Now they're up to number 10, another team that was close to making the playoff cut in the North Central Division, just like the D155 Predators, and they actually get a jump over the Predators in seeding at number 10.
Yeah, the 6-14-4 league record doesn't necessarily do it justice when you look at all of the improvements they're making, and they can upset anybody. They had a few interesting wins in the league play. So it'll be Glenbard and Yeti both getting free passes to the round of 16, and that leaves us with 3 teams remaining in the varsity combined division. The 18 seed from North Central Gold, it's the Kings.
Yeah, and the Kings are another team who can really beat anybody. They played in varsity champions as of last year, and they moved down to Gold along with a couple of other teams, one of the teams that they're actually going to be playing in their matchup, and they've thrived there. I mean, you make that jump down to Gold, the speed declines only a little bit, and that's all this team needs to have a winning record, a 14-3-3 record. They are going to be a threat not only the state playoffs, but also, of course, the North Central playoffs.
Well, you seem to know a lot about this team, the Kings, but I bet you know a lot more about the team I'm about to mention, their opponent, the 15-seeded D211 Chiefs.
Yeah, and for those of you that don't know, I played 4 years at the District 211 Chiefs. I graduated last year, and one of the worries as us graduates were leaving is what is going to be the worry about next season? And one of our first things was, well, we lost Tyson Moore, who might have not had the best stats, but you watch that guy play. He made some of the most acrobatic saves I've ever seen, and it was, who's going to fill his shoes? And Lucas Bending comes out of nowhere, and all of a sudden in his first year at varsity, he is an IHSHL All-Star, over a 930 save percentage, and he has glued this team together.
So the Kings and D211, a North Central Gold matchup in the 15-18 matchup. They'll go on to play our final remaining team in varsity combined. Maybe you've done your process of elimination, or maybe this is your first time tuning into high school hockey since last year. And if that's the case, you would say, well, wait a second, there should be 2 teams remaining that made it far. And this one team is both of them combined. It's the Warriors, which is Wabanzi and Wheaton West.
Yeah, I mean, Wabanzi adding on Wheaton West from last year, who was the 10th seed. As you see there, you see Wabanzi, the number 2 seed, Wheaton West, the 10 seed, who was also very good last year. And all of a sudden, you combine those teams, they become a whole lot deadlier. They win the West Division by 1 point, and what a crazy tight race it was. Dylan, you and I saw that all year when we were doing our Outside the SHL segment. That top 3, that top 5 kept getting shuffled, and it's the Warriors on top of the West, which is a very top-heavy division. There are some great teams at the top, and it's an honor to at least have the 1 seed. But, hey, the playoffs mean a whole lot more.
It just means more. And with that, that is your varsity combined bracket. Everybody knows their place now, and it's going to be who's going to the United Center is the question. Again, that is Sunday, March 16th. Varsity combined will be the third and middle game of the day at 2 p.m., and then the semifinals and quarterfinals, once again, at West Meadows this year. Don't show up at Bensonville. There's nothing there for you. Or maybe there is, but it's not this. And the quarterfinals, we'll do split days for the quarters. It's the 3rd and the 4th, Monday and Tuesday, games at 6:30 and 8:30. Again, you can find all of this on the official brackets, which will be going live shortly at ahai.org/HSBrackets2025. Also follow AHAI Hockey on Instagram and SHL Network on Instagram. We cover just about everything. That's all thanks to Dylan Ward over here. And now we're going to start about the biggest bracket division in high school, and that is the varsity red division. And we know there's a lot of anticipation for this one, fellas.
Yeah, this is going to be huge. I mean, obviously, you look at these combined teams, and I get the reason that they're split into pure and combined just for the sake of student population and all that. But this red bracket is just going to be electric, and you've got round of 32, no buys. As a matter of fact, you've got some teams that actually need to play into the round of 32. That's how many teams we're about to discuss now.
Yeah, so get ready for a lot of teams, and we'll try and go relatively quick. 38 of them to be exact. So before we give any specifics, that means that the 27 through 38 seeds will all have 1 game to play before getting into the round of 32. Everybody else will have 2 games to win in order to get to West Meadows. So here is our next blank bracket, and we will start top down as we have this whole time. And from the North Central Division to kick off our red bracket reveal, it is the Barrington Broncos.
Yeah, the 2020 semifinalists before COVID came in and wanted to interrupt everything. And since then, for Barrington, it has been, tough. It has been a tough struggle, but I think there is a lot of talent in the Barrington area, and it's more the Broncos just needing to pull it in. But you know what? I like their chances in this play-in matchup, but if they win that one, then things will be tough after.
And they will have a Catholic team to beat on the road. Their 32-seed opponent will be the St. Rita Mustangs.
I saw St. Rita play in person in that high school rivalry series game where they actually honored Chris Chelios for the host of Mount Carmel. They were taking on St. Rita, and St. Rita, just looking down the roster, being able to broadcast that game, taught me so much about them. And you know what I learned? They are a young team. I tell you, a majority of their top scorers are sophomores. For example, Travis Gutkowski. So this is a team that is currently the 32nd seed, but as the years roll on, you're going to start to see them make a climb up and up and up.
And now, there are no gimmies in high school hockey, or very little gimmies in hockey in general, but if we had to pick one gimme, it's probably going to be the number 1 seed in the varsity red division, the 2-time state champion, New Trier Trevians Green.
Yeah, New Trier has been on a tear, as they typically have. With that being said, they are back-to-back state champions, both above the York Dukes, the last 2 years. And I'm saying, this year, not just because it would be a three-peat, this is the toughest bracket they are going to have to play, because the SHL, in which they play in general, all those teams have improved. And New Trier has also gotten better, but the question is, have they improved as much as some of the teams like we've seen? Glenbrook North making a big jump defensively. St. Viator, St. Ignatius, Loyola, they're going to have a lot of threats in their way, whether they meet them in the state championship, state semis. But, I wish them the best luck going forward.
Yeah, and there have been more upsets than ever this year in the Scholastic Hockey League. There is no shortage of parity. Again, nothing is given. I know that's been a theme, but we're going to keep saying it. So New Trier will play the winner of Barrington Rita. By the way, the dates for the 6 play-in games are known. We'll give them to you as we call them out, but the 32-33 game, that game will be played on February 6th at Southwest Ice Arena, 7:55 p.m. if you want to stop by. Again, that's for a ticket to play New Trier in the round of 32. And perhaps, well, I may have just teased something that I shouldn't have, but we'll get to it. We'll give you the 17 seed first, because that one will be a little easier. The 17 seed from both the North Central Champions Division and the Chicago Catholic Hockey League. That's right, they play dual schedules. We'll see a couple of those teams. It's the Notre Dame Dons Green.
Yeah, Sam, and I'm a fan of the dual schedules, as long as you don't burn yourselves out. And Notre Dame, who's number 6 in the North Central, number 5 in the CCHL, I think they have an advantage when they come into play some of these teams, because as a team, they've just developed so much more chemistry throughout the year.
So, Notre Dame, and then I did tease it. It is some unfortunate luck for a group of people. The 16 seed from the North Central Champions Division is the New Trier Trevians Blue. That's their second team. They've got 4 of them.
Yeah, crazy to think they have 4 of them, by the way.
Yeah.
But New Trier Blue, just because they're a varsity too, that means nothing. Get it straight that they have beaten some very good teams this year. They even made some statements in that O'Grady Thanksgiving tournament. And the Trevians are actually playing in a playoff game tonight against the Deerfield Warriors in the North Central Division. That game's at 7:35, so they might be in the locker room right now as they're getting ready for the game, checking out what seed they got. Well, you got number 16. What you also have is a great goaltender in Cole Sherb, who leads the North Central in save percentage with a .935.
Well, if you guys are watching, good luck and go get them. So that is New Trier Blue and Notre Dame Green to play what will numerically likely say the New Trier Trevians Green. Could be a New Trier matchup. But, again, nothing given. Our next set of matchups, the 24-9 game, this is where we get to the Academic Hockey League, which is the varsity 2 teams in the Scholastic Hockey League. There are 9 of them. Lake Forest Academy is one of them, and they do not qualify due to being a prep school, so they are not in the tournament. And the other exception is that New Trier Blue plays in North Central Champions. Their 3rd team plays in the AHL. Anyway, the AHL team occupying the 24 seed is the St. Viator Lions 2.
Yeah, sitting in first place in the AHL right now with a record of 18-3-5. Alec Hare, Mason Steffen, both 30 points on the Academic Hockey League season, as well as Marcel Zawazlak with 29. They're all sitting in the top 5 in point production in AHL play. And, to have the varsity 2 teams playing in the same bracket, I understand why you have to do it, but it really, it makes for some fun matchups. Like you said, we could get a cross New Trier matchup. We see a lot of SHL versus AHL teams, so teams with the same jerseys that they're used to playing but different players. It's going to be really interesting to see how this bracket unfolds.
There you go. St. Viator's the 24 seed with a 17-3-5 AHL record. That's going to be an interesting set of playoffs. And they're going to play the regular season champions of the North Central Champions Division. And this team, I'm about to say, has been recommended to go to the Scholastic Hockey League by a lot of people, I've heard. The 9 seed is the Evanston Wildcats.
Yeah, first place finish in that champions division, like you said, 20-4 record, plus 60 goal differential in the 24-game schedule. They actually made it to the round of 16 last year, where they lost to Lake Forest at Alumni Memorial Fieldhouse. And their leading scorers, Ilya Marsh, Kingston Scrum, both lead scoring with 37 points apiece. So this Evanston versus St. Viator Varsity 2 game should be interesting.
So there you have it. The 24-9 game is St. Viator 2 and Evanston, respectively. And the winner of that game will play the winner of this matchup, whose away team is going to be from Illinois West, the Lions.
Yeah, Lions finished 9th in the champions division, so just shy of that, top playoff bracket in terms of league play with a 14-12 record. I also had a chance to see them at that rivalry series, as I mentioned earlier, when we were on the combined division with DuPage, put up a great fight against the Stars. And this Lions team, a little bit higher seed last year, they finished in the round of 16.
Ben Engel, John Proctor looking for a Cinderella-type run, and their opponent is going to be a team we have seen go very far in the red playoffs, especially the last 2 years. From the Scholastic Hockey League, the 8th seed is the York Dukes Black.
Well, for anyone hoping for a 3-time rematch, you're not going to get it, because the 2 finalists from both last season and the year before, Neutral Green and York Duke, not only on the same side of the bracket, but the same quadrant. So the latest they can meet each other is in the quarterfinals. Drew Gammy, SHL All-Star, and Matthew Lezak tied for the team lead with 12 points on the year. Drew Gammy, a defenseman as well. And these 2 teams, actually, York Varsity 1 and Lions, met in the round of 16 last year, where York won by a final score of 5-2. So we'll see how these 2 teams match up in one round earlier than they did last year.
So those are the first 9 teams and the first of 4 quadrants in the Varsity Red Division to see who gets to go to the United Center. And with that, we will go right into the bottom left quadrant, and that'll be a play-in round first to get to the 5 seed, a 37-28 matchup. Will be the away team, 37 from North Central Gold, the New Trier Trevians Gray. That is their 4th team.
That is their 4th team, Sam. You know the craziest part? They put up a winning record in the Gold Division in North Central. They were 10-9-1, which is, for a 4th varsity team, it just goes to show you how deep the New Trier program runs, and they should still be honored to be where they are.
Yeah, and they also have one of the best fan bases out there, or biggest, as big as their school is. For the games that I've seen, it's always very loud there. It's a professional atmosphere. It is hard to find seats, depending on the rink you're playing at. Their opponent will be the 28th-seeded Hinsdale Central Red Devils.
Yeah, and the Red Devils, a team that, or I believe it is Hinsdale Central.
Oh, I apologize. No, that's on me. Hinsdale's not in this game. That is my apologies. Their opponent is the Marmion Cadets. We apologize for that.
First off, I just want to say we are bound to make mistakes, because this has all been done by people. This wasn't auto-generated. So the fact that we even have all this, Sam did a majority of this graphic work, and Gerard Boris, our producer, who's putting everything together. This has been awesome so far, and I'm glad we're still rolling with it. So we might make a mistake here or there, but just know that this is pretty darn cool for the first ever state bracket reveal show.
Well, this is a blast for us, and we hope that you guys are enjoying it. And by the way, we also want to give a huge thanks to Zach Lieberman for helping us with the graphics. But yeah, we are not AI.
And by the way, so New Trier Gray will be playing the Marmion Cadets, and the Cadets are a team who've just been outside of that top 6 spot in the CCHL. But you look at that top 6 in the CCHL, and they're all very legitimate teams going from Providence Catholic, Notre Dame, and beyond. Then you look at Brother Rice, Fenwick, St. Ignatius, Bennett. So they are not within bad company to even have a playoff spot in the CCHL.
So as we get into further down the bracket, Our 21 seed from Illinois West, they lead the West with power play goals against, excuse me. It's the OPRF Huskies.
I think we might have jumped over 5. Did we?
We did.
We have not talked
St.
about that
Vider.
yet.
Wow, we are all over the place. I'm sorry. Both those are correct, by the way. Vider is the 5 seed.
Yeah, and Vider was also the number 5 seed last year when they upset GBN to make it to the state semifinals, where they were just 1 win away from headed to the UC, where they had to go against New Trier Green. On the bleak side of things for them, they could end up meeting New Trier Green again in the state semifinal, just considering the formation of the bracket. But St. Vider, they have an incredible goalie in Brock Hare. You don't see too many goalies wearing an A. Brock Hare is one of them. He's a 3-year varsity starter who has played endless amount of games with the St. Vider Lions. And also Ryan Loftus has been a threat. He's only a junior, but he's on the podium for points in the SHL.
So that, again, despite all the chaos, it's 37 New Trier Gray playing an away play-in game at 28 Marmion. That game, by the way, on February 2nd, 3 p.m. at Fox Valley North. The winner of that game will play the 5 seed St. Vider 1. Those are the correct matchups. What you see on the bracket on your screen is correct. We know who the 21 seed is, and if you didn't just hear it, it's OPRF.
Yeah, and OPRF, they have made a massive jump from last year. You talk about being the 31st seed, now jumping up to the 21st. And they have an incredible, not only defense, but also a penalty killing unit, which is very crucial for the state playoffs. Because if you make mistakes, you cannot let the other team score on those mistakes. And that's something they have done great at all season, is not letting that happen. 5 power play goals allowed throughout the entirety of the West through their regular season, best in the West. And they also have one of the best goalies in the West, second best save percentage for Henry Gilman, who is a .935.
Yeah, and they played 26 regular season games in Illinois West as they're just getting started with their playoffs right now. It hasn't been too long since they were in the Scholastic Hockey League, but they're finding their step again. And with that, their opponent will be from the S. The 12 seed is the Lake Forest Scouts.
I think might be someone else there. Whatever you
Sorry,
see.
we had a couple late changes, so you know what? We're ripping this paper up. We are ripping this up.
What you see on your screen is correct and has been confirmed. So there you go, Carmel Catholic.
Yeah, we had a couple late changes.
Yeah, and, you know, Carmel, they have a great 1-2 punch between the pipes in Tommy Steiner and Gavin Stanley, and I do believe that with offensive firepower of Deacon Rose and company could take them on a run.
So, I pledge to be completely correct from now on. So, again, that is... Well, hold on. I'm losing my spot. Somebody help me out here.
Yeah, we're just getting started with the bottom half.
Oh, okay.
Of the...
Wait, Carmel's the 12th seed. I'm sorry. I was relying on an inaccurate piece of paper. So, without further ado, the next game from the Academic Hockey League, as I'm totally cheating off of Dylan's screen here, the 20 seed is the New Trier Trevians Whites. That is their 3rd team.
Yeah, Sam, 3rd team, and like you said, the AHL is all varsity 2 teams except for New Trier White and the LFA, as we mentioned, but still, as a varsity 3 team, finding a way to be 3rd place in the league with a 17-6-2 record. Alex Rowian and Emmett Houdian, along with George Knight, all in the top 10 in Academic Hockey League scoring. So they're going to be a team to watch out for. Any team wearing the NT on the chest is going to be a team to watch out for, whatever division it is.
So that is New Trier White, and I believe we've covered all of the New Trier Whites. And their opponent, they will be going on the road for their round of 32 game for an SHL matchup, a matchup against an SHL team, the 13-seeded Stevenson Patriots Green.
Yeah, Stevenson 10th place in the SHL, 8-18-3, a recent state champion. Also, we talk about New Trier winning the last 2, Stevenson the year before them in 2022. As they actually had a much better season this year than last year. They'll host the round of 32 game against New Trier White. They had to play on the road last season against Neuqua Valley. Wojdelko, Brown, and Yurkov all leading the way in scoring for that team. All 3 of those guys now 3-year varsity 1 veterans for the Patriots. And we'll see if this is their year to make a big statement in the playoffs.
Well, never count Stevenson out, as they can always make an upset. And with that, in our bottom left quadrant, we have one matchup left. It includes a play-in game, so it's really two. And we will reveal our 36th seed here from the Chicago Catholic Hockey League, the Mount Carmel Caravan.
Yeah, ninth place in the CCHL, just missed the Chicago Catholic Hockey League playoff line with a record of 3-15-0. And Luke, you were mentioning earlier in the show when we were talking about St. Rita, we saw them in the rivalry series game down at Oak Lawn Ice Arena, or might have been Morgan Park, and that was the night that Chris Chelios had his jersey retired there. So Chris Chelios, a former Mount Carmel Caravan, and this team back in the day actually won a state championship. So we'll see what they're able to produce here.
And in order to punch the ticket to play at the undisclosed 4 seed, they will play a team who plays out of Glenview Ice Center right here. It is the Glenbrook South Titans varsity blue team.
Yeah, we'll see that game right here behind us at Glenview Ice Center. Like you said, 6th place in the AHL with a record of 13-8-0. Teddy McCrulis and Alex Tutai tied for 6th place in the AHL in scoring with 27 points each.
That game is Tuesday, February 4th, 7:40 p.m., right behind us. And the winner of that game will go on to play the 4 seed. They are a Scholastic Hockey League team and a Chicago Catholic Hockey League team. The 4 seed is the St. Ignatius Wolfpack Gold.
Yeah, and when you play a double schedule like that, usually you're a lot better in one league than the other, but they've got some pretty darn good records in both. 18-8-2 in the SHL, 14-2-1 in the CCHL. They've also won 4 straight SHL games coming into this one, and actually with a game in progress right now against Stevenson, we'll see if they can make that 5 wins in a row. They lost Tiernan Ryan last year. He was an incoming senior, but opted to play club, but they're getting a lot of scoring from Jackson Steinloff, Austin Haynes as well.
Yeah, you know, Spencer Montgomery and his team, they are never an out, and it's hard to say that anyone is because we've just seen so much parity more this year than anything else, and I think that's a pretty fair statement, fellas. That is the left side of your bracket. We revealed half of the varsity red bracket, the journey to the United Center. And without further ado, we will get right into the right side, and we just spoke about them a little bit. This club, the 35 seed from the Academic Hockey League, the Stevenson Patriots Gold, although it's gold, that is their second team.
Yeah, green, their first team that has the 13 seed in this one. And Stevenson's gold team in the AHL has been more near the bottom of the barrel, but I mentioned it earlier with varsity 2 teams. When you have more of a balanced attack, sometimes you even work better as a team. So who they're going to play against, you can't rule them out against.
So Stevenson, on the road, they'll be going pretty far. They're going to have to travel as far as Hinsdale. They will play Hinsdale Central, the 30 seed, in their play-in game.
Well, that's quite the home advantage, huh? 8-16-2 in the West this season, a team that through the past years has been more in the middle. They have dropped a little bit, but I'm going to sound like a broken record by the end of this. Anything is possible in these playoffs. And we'll see if they can win their play-in to go against a very good team at the 3 seed.
That game is Thursday, February 6th, 7:10 p.m. if you want to make the trek to Willowbrook Ice Arena in Willowbrook. That game will produce a winner who will then go on to play from the Scholastic Hockey League, the 3-seeded Loyola Ramblers.
Yeah, coming into this season, people were wondering who's going to stick out on this Loyola team, and that has been answered. We have Matt Klein, who's been incredible from the blue line. Peter Lochnicki is a very shifty skater. And also, you have Declan Smith and Charlie Trapp. Look at last week when Loyola played New Trier. Declan Smith stood on his head. Another team with a 1-2 punch, balanced offensive attack. These are the ingredients that can help you produce a state championship, so you better watch out for the Ramblers.
And it was a great game against New Trier. They avoided the sweep. They came back from 2-0 early on at Centennial Wilmette Ice Rink, and they ended up winning in a 3-round shootout. Dylan and I were there. Actually, all 3 of us were there. Yeah. That was a great game, but
yes, it was.
They beat the number 1 seed, and they have no doubts that they can do that again. Loyola will play the winner of Stevenson 2 and Hinsdale Central, and the other side of that mini quadrant, The 19 seed from the North Central Champions Division is the Highland Park Giants.
Yeah, we got another team who is actually going to be in action tonight. They're playing against Evanston in the league playoffs at 8:30. That's going to be a 1 seed Evanston versus an 8 seed Highland Park, but don't be fooled. This team has a deadly offense. Look at Dylan Lansky, leads the entire North Central in points. Just hear this really quick. 24 games, 48 points. That's 2 points a game. You don't see a player do that too often in any division in this state. So we'll see if the Giants can go on a giant run in these state playoffs.
Well said there, Luke. And they will be going on the road to the CCHL, and they will be playing the Brother Rice Crusaders in their round of 32 matchup.
Yeah, the Crusaders have looked really good this year. They started a majority of their CCHL season undefeated. I want to say they were nearly 10-0 at one point, and they still end up grabbing the number 3 seed in the CC. And by the way, an SHL team in Fenwick is behind them at number 4. So they've shown that they can compete with teams from the top division, and we'll see what competition they have to go against in this tournament.
So Brother Rice hosting Highland Park. Winner of that will play Loyola, and winner of Stevenson 2 Hinsdale. And our next matchup will be an Academic Hockey League team as the visiting team, the 22 seed in the red division for the Loyola Ramblers Maroon.
Yeah, second place in the AHL, just behind St. Vitus, we mentioned, but they do get the top seed out of all AHL teams and just behind New True Blue when it comes to secondary varsity teams. 4 points behind St. Vitus Varsity 2, still lots of time in the AHL season, or at least a handful of games left. Luke Burkhoff and Henry Hoffman, their leading scorers with 23 and 22 points. And Charles Niego, also first in save percentage in the AHL with a .937 among goalies with at least 5 games played.
So the AHL's Loyola Maroon, they're going to play from the tier above the Scholastic Hockey League. I already incorrectly mentioned them, but I'm going to correctly mention them right here. The 11 seed in the red division from the Scholastic Hockey League is the Lake Forest Scouts.
Yeah, and the Scouts had a pretty good season. There were some shaky times throughout in the SHL regular season, but they went on a really nice run here in January to secure their spot as the 8 seed in the SHL playoffs and up to the 11 seed here in the state playoffs. We saw them in the Winter Classic Chicago Blackhawks rivalry series face off against Carmel. And this team is a force to be reckoned with at home. If you ever tune into the Scholastic Sit Down podcast with me and Luke, we talk about it. Their record on home ice is 9-3-2 on the season, and obviously they'll be home here against Loyola Maroon.
So Lake Forest of the SHL hosting Loyola's second team, the AHL, the 11-22 matchup. And to go to the next spot, a play-in matchup. And the visitor in that one will be the 38-seeded Marist Redhawks.
Yeah, it's been a tough go for Marist on the season, just those 2 wins and 0-18-0 in the regular season. So they get the 38 seed and they get the bid to the state tournament in general. So again, you just throw the records out the window, and with their play-in game, they've got a chance to win and maybe build some momentum.
That game will be against the host, the 27-seeded Neuqua Valley.
Yeah, and, I do apologize. I have it wrong on my sheet, so I don't have too many notes about Neuqua Valley. But just looking at this, 18-21-0 record, and, of course, I get cut to the main cam, so I can't look at the stats anymore. So there you go. 13-12-1 record. Their seed last year, 13. So Neuqua Valley taking a pretty, deep dive in terms of where they fall in the bracket this year. If you remember, they played Stevenson in the round of 32 last season. That was a crazy game, 5-4 in OT. But now they'll have to host Marist and get an opportunity to play. We're about to find out.
There you go. And if there's anyone around here that maybe stuck around, I know they were practicing. They are from the Scholastic Hockey League and play right here out of Glenview Community Ice Center. The 6th seed is the Glenbrook South Titans Varsity 1.
Yeah, GBS 6th place in the SHL, so it checks out here with the number 6 seed. Currently 15-8-5, 5-1-2 since the new calendar year, so just 1 regulation loss in that stretch of 8 games. Blake Hoffer with 43 points and Benji Pajurski with 37, the number 1 and number 2 ranked point producers in the SHL. So lots of offensive firepower on this Titans team.
And there's the top right quadrant. The two powerhouses, the number 3 Loyola and number 6 Glenbrook South. But lots of teams there that can definitely put up a fight and shock the world. And we will get into the fourth and final quadrant of the varsity red bracket. First with the 26th seed from the Academic Hockey League. It's the first time they've had a second varsity team. It's the York Dukes White.
Yeah, first year having a varsity 2 team, and boy, have they adjusted well. They've had a ton of success in the JV division the last couple of years, winning some SHL championships, winning some state championships, and they make the jump to varsity 2 for the first time, and the questions were, are they going to be able to handle themselves? Look at that league record and let that answer it for you. I happened to see them play on Sunday against New Trier White, and they can fight with a lot of these AHL teams, and I do think they're really one of the AHL sleepers. I really do.
If I remember correctly, you almost got hit by Zamboni in that game.
Oh my goodness, don't get me started. That was rough.
Matt Boeing's crew, lots of depth. They will be the away team. The home team will be from the CCHL, the Bennett Red Wings.
Oh boy, Bennett is a team you want to watch out for. They were 1 game away from having an undefeated season in the CCHL. They were 17-0 entering their last game against Fenwick, who they already beat this season, and they ended up losing that game 1-0, just a game out from being undefeated. But still, Bennett has beaten some great teams this year. You look at a team higher seated above them, St. Ignatius, they swept them in CCHL play. Hudson Scheel has been incredible for this Bennett offense this year. I noticed him last year when he was putting up crazy points, and he's a part of a power play unit this year that is first in the CCHL by a mile, nearly 2 power play goals a game.
So Bennett hosting York 2 in the 7-26 game, and a quick unscheduled turn. We'll quickly tease that the next game is very short in distance between the schools. The downstate, for anybody wondering, as I've seen a little bit as we've been lightly monitoring the YouTube chat, the downstate tournament will be announced in a few weeks. Teams like the Pekin Dragons, though we will get to those, and we will still cover them. Dylan does a very good job covering all of Illinois high school hockey on SHL Network on Instagram.
Thank you,
If you're
Sam.
not following him, make sure you do.
Yeah, we got every Red Division final score coming to you, and for all other divisions, quarterfinals and onward, make sure you follow SHL Network.
Back to our regularly scheduled program. The away team in the 23-10 game, the away team from the Academic Hockey League, it's the Glenbrook North Spartans Gold. Again, Gold, it's their second team.
Yeah, and typically when you have a good varsity 1 in Glenbrook North, you're going to have a good varsity 2, and that's exactly what they have. They're the second highest ranked AHL team. They're number 23, just behind number 22 Loyola Maroon, and like I said, as always, another balanced attack with this AHL team.
And the good news for them is even though they're on the road, they really don't have too far to go. Their opponent, the 10 seed, Deerfield Warriors.
Yeah, 4th in the North Central, the best power play unit, 24 power play goals in 24 games. And I've played against this guy myself. He is a pain to cover. Josh Becker has 44 points in 24 games, real close to his arch nemesis in Dylan Lansky playing on the rival Highland Park Giants. But hey, he's got the last laugh because they actually swept the Giants in league play.
And that's not even mentioning Alex Richter, who has been phenomenal for the Warriors in league play and non-league play, but that's not as easy to document. Deerfield hosting Glenbrook North 2 in the 10-23 game, and we have 5 teams remaining.
Wow. Goes by so fast.
Time flies.
It really does, and this tournament's going to be over before we know it. That's how fun it is. So the 18-15 game will mathematically be balanced. The 18 seed from the Chicago Catholic Hockey League, the Providence Celtics.
Yeah, Providence Catholic 6th place in the CCHL with a 10-7-1 record. And I actually remember back to my high school days, Providence Catholic was in the state championship against New Trier Green. I want to say that was the 2017 state final where New Trier eventually won that game. So this is a team that has some history in Illinois hockey as a powerhouse, and we'll see if they can get hot here in March.
They get a semi-league foe for their first game. A dual league team will be the 15 seed from the SHL and CCHL. They play the Fenwick Friars.
Yeah, a tough season in the SHL for Fenwick, but they were dominant in the CCHL. A fourth-place finish with a 12-5-1 record. Their leading scorer, Giovanni Senna, at least in the SHL, with 17 points. William Paps leads the CCHL with 24 points. And like you said, Sam, we do have a CCHL matchup here. And on the season series, Fenwick won the first game 4-3 in OT. Providence Catholic won the second meeting 5-2. So with that season series tied 1-1 and only 2 games played against each team in the CCHL, this will be quite a rubber match.
Absolutely, Dylan. Very well said. And with that, 1 matchup, 3 teams to go. We will get to the play-in game first. The 34 seed from the Academic Hockey League. It's the St. Ignatius Wolfpack Maroon.
Yeah, 8th place in the AHL with a record of 7-16-3. I believe they are the lowest AHL team to squeak in to the state tournament, but St. Ignatius, just always a good program, really well run, and you never know at this point, especially with starting with a play-in game, maybe build some momentum for the St. Ignatius Wolfpack too.
And their opponent to get to the number 2 seed, which we will get to in a moment, the 31-seeded Sandburg Eagles.
Yeah, Sandburg, 12th place in champions with a 10-16 record. I remember a great game. I'm blanking if it was last year or the year before in the state playoffs where they played St. Viator varsity 1, and St. Viator won 4-0, but not without outshooting them 70-20 or something. So just an unbelievable night for that goaltender. And Sandburg, St. Ignatius, one of these two will earn their spot in the round of 32.
Yeah, and there's one team, and we're sure that if they're watching, they're yelling, screaming at the TV. We know it's us. The number 2 seed from the Scholastic Hockey League. It's the rival of the teams that play here, the Glenbrook North Spartans Green, the number 1 team.
Glenbrook North rightfully deserving of that number 2 seed, in my opinion. Just an outstanding season in the SHL and quite an improvement as well from last season. Currently sporting a record of 25-3 with still 3 games to be played. Daniel Rubin, Jake Semmelhack, Thomas Henriksen, their top 3 in points. They have a really deep roster, lots of contributions from all 4 lines and their defensemen. Not to mention Michael Raderman, a 1.37 goals allowed average, 946 save percentage, leads all starting SHL goalies in both of those stats. And Raderman combined with the defensive ability of GBN, you're not going to score a lot of goals on them if you meet up with them here in this tournament.
Yeah, well, Michael Raderman, look out for his name on the All-State roster, which will be coming in the next week or so, as I'd be very surprised if he doesn't make it. And with that, you have your red bracket.
There it is. Moment everyone's been waiting for. Take pictures of your screen right now.
And now you've also got the dates on there. Again, the quarterfinals at West Meadows, same as the semifinals. That's the quarters all on March 1st. Get there in the morning at 11:30 and stay through about 9 p.m. and you will watch 4 amazing games between the 8 red teams remaining. And then on Saturday, it's a bit of a split matinee. Games at 1:30 and 5:45. They'll also be split with JV. JV brackets, by the way, we didn't forget about you. Those are actually going up live on the website shortly. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough time in the program to reveal them in this style, but those will be on ahai.org/HS brackets 2025. Again, that's JV blue, JV combined, varsity red, varsity combined, and the high school girls division. All 5 of them will be there. And again, the red championship will happen 4:30 p.m. right at the United Center. And again, it's 5 straight games at the UC, home of the Chicago Blackhawks. Man, the Blackhawks have been doing such a great job for high school hockey with the rivalry series, the Winter Classic for the SHL. That was such a unique experience between Carmel and Lake Forest.
Yeah, it really was, and I was there to broadcast it. Going back to that red division bracket, just want to point something out as well. As you see, from the quarterfinals and onwards, once we get to that neutral site, we are playing once a week. So Saturday, and Sunday the following weekend. And I know in years past, there's been maybe like a Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday situation where you're playing a lot of games in that time span. And, you know, teams are used to the condensed schedule in the regular season, but I think it's really good to get those weeks week in between each game once you get to that stage to really rest up and prepare and maybe even squeak in your last few conference or league playoff matchups.
Yeah, and as we reflect on all that's happened this season and all that's about to happen this season, something new for this year for North Central, the Academic Hockey League, and Illinois West is they've started doing crossover series, but what that also means is there are teams that are currently contending for 3 championships all right now. They've got their league championship, which may be up to a month-long playoffs depending on the league. You've got state tournaments, and then you've got this crossover, which isn't too large in size, and we're down to the championship. BGHW defeated Deerfield last night, and I know Evanston's in there. I'm forgetting the other opponent off the top of my head. And then Glenbrook South Blue, actually, I forget their opponent. I think they're in it. But point is, lots of teams are playing lots of games.
Yeah, and funny you bring that up because actually Glenbrook South Blues opponent is actually going to be the D211 Chiefs. I had a buddy on
There you go. There you
Shout
go.
out Tyler Queen for letting us know the information because it ended up being really useful.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the coolest things about high school hockey is, you have this big state tournament where you're trying to be the best team in the state, obviously, as the name implies. But, just being completely honest, there are some teams on the bracket that realistically, you don't, maybe not a lot of confidence going into getting all the way to the United Center, but that's what you have your league playoffs for. You've got the SHL, CCHL, North Central, both divisions, and West all have their, 8-team best 2 out of 3 series playoffs. And, for the SHL, that's the best team in the state. So that kind of means something different. But for all those other leagues, just to be able to play for your league title, whether it be, gold in the North Central or Champions or West or CCHL, it's a nice little add-on to the state tournament. 2 playoffs going on at once, just if it wasn't crazy enough for you already.
And by the way, West Meadows, don't sleep on it. I know it's only certain teams and leagues play there, but it's a pretty big place. And if you fill that with a new Trier Loyola-esque student section, that place is going to be loud.
Yeah, and that, from being a player who's played in there endless times, the sound bounces off the ceiling and comes right onto that ice. So if you are loud, it messes with you. So it is, even if that place is half-packed, when you're talking a place that suits just about over 1,000, when you're looking at people along the glass as well, maybe even 1,300, 1,400, because they're going to file in rows and all that. But even when I used to play JV games there, there would be maybe like 300, 400 people there because it was like a league championship. It was as loud as you could imagine. So when there is going to be a full attendance, probably for the first time inside that building since the Chicago Wolves used to host preseason games in there, it is going to be loud. So make sure that you are there.
Yeah, so before we wrap things up, we hope you enjoyed the first ever bracket reveal. We've been watching the comments. Obviously, you've got your number of trolls there, but we hope overall, I'm just being honest. But we also want to give big thanks to Gerard Boris, Zach Lieberman for helping do all the behind-the-scenes stuff. Glenn Jouch is the high school chairman, Jenny McDougall for the girls division. And just, it's great that we were able to do this. We think this is great for the game, and hopefully you do too. We're looking forward to a great month of hockey.
Yeah, Sam, you shout out those 2 guys behind the scenes, but I want to shout out you. You were the one who, first off, had the idea to do this in the first place, and you mentioned it to me way back in October, and I thought it was a great idea. So now to be sitting here at this table with you guys with only 2 days left in January and actually not only planning it and getting everything ready, but now that we're done with the show, it's a really cool feeling, and I think we nailed it here to the best of our abilities, especially for the first time doing it, and looking forward to more where this came from in future seasons.
Yeah, well, we certainly couldn't do it without you. The thought process was simply, I like March Madness, why don't we do something like that?
Right.
Also, I think this is arguably more fun than somebody texting you, hey, I think the brackets are up. And
Yeah, right.
So, also, big thanks to Bob Wagner. Again, congrats on the Illinois Hockey Hall of Fame. He's played a big part in putting a lot of this tournament logistics together. With that, any final thoughts, fellas?
I gave you my final thoughts.
Don't blink an eye. It's going to be March 16th in no time.
We hope to see you there.